Did you click that? Yeah.
That sweet hey wasn't for me or you. It was for the cat. I'd like for you to know it wasn't Carola greeting us sweetly. That
I
was
can
at a
greet
cat.
I can greet the listeners. Hej, hyggelig att ha dere här. Huh? In my weird fairy language.
I love your weird fairy language. I love your weird fae language. Uh,
Oh my god.
welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax. Um, patrons got to see my hair at extreme anime bishonen level,
Very
and now you
lovely.
guys get to see the remnants of it, where my bang is still um, basically glued into place,
It's still banging.
and it's a
Hey, I'm
and
so
my hair
funny.
is still super shiny from the treatment that I received. So I still get to be like peak anime boy for a little while longer.
Yes.
Uh, it's February.
It's February. We survived. January is
We,
finally over. Thank
we
fucking God.
yes, it is the Super Bowl here in America.
Yes. I am excited for once about
I'm
Green Day.
I'm excited for Green Day and for Bad Bunny.
I don't
Uh,
know anything about Bad Bunny, but what I've heard I do like.
I feel like such a poser because I couldn't have told you jack or shit about Bad Bunny like 2 months ago, but I've been on like the deep dive and prep for the Benito Bowl.
Mm.
So now it's like I feel like such a fucking poser. There's like, yeah, I love Bad Bunny, and it's like, shut up.
I mean, I don't know anything, but I know that he pisses off the right wingers, and that's enough for me. Actually, I like what he stands for. It's like whoever organized halftime this
Mhm.
year either haven't thought about it at all, or they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like the last couple of half times have been like there's some woke intern who's like pushing an agenda.
I am just here for the fallout, honestly. Like I am ready. Let's go.
I love it. Listen, it is the month of love.
Yes.
Um,
Are you feeling the love?
sure. There's also a lot going on still in the US.
Yeah.
It's still Black History Month. Of course it
Yay.
is. There's a lot going on. And, Girl and I, we think about our topics every single month.
Yes, we do.
Thank you for confirming, wife. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Uh, and, we're obligated to do at least one writing episode per season.
Yes.
So we figure why not knock it out now?
Yes. I mean, for me, this is mainly I I I don't write in this episode, so I'm just a happy spectator for this. No, but it there's a correlation, like there's a connection here.
There is. And we're talking about specifically about fanfic language. So we do get a bit of a pass on talking about us writing
Mm.
specifically because it makes us uncomfortable. That exact
Uncomfortable
noise.
talking about writing? I don't. What?
That exact noise. Uh, so we're going to talk about how fanfic language has changed. This may or may not tie into what we're doing at CitrusCon at the end of the month.
I am so excited. I'm still coming to terms with the fact that it's already CitrusCon, but I
Mm-hmm.
am very excited. I love CitrusCon. It's going to be great.
Yeah, my brain hasn't processed that CitrusCon is happening, which is not helpful at all because I do all the outlining.
Yeah.
So I have to go put on some angry music after this and work on our presentation.
I can help. You just have to like drag me into the document with you. I will help.
Yeah, by the time I do that, I could already do it. So I'm just gonna put on some
Okay.
angry
Wow.
music.
Wow. I'm not even allowed. You see that? You hear that, folks? She doesn't want me.
Remember, we're 2000s UK and 7.
I
You
don't
don't have
like
rights anymore.
see, I don't even need the angry music because I am already in the throes of the Olympic hell. And yeah, it's great.
I'm sorry, our vice president is there.
I haven't seen him, luckily, but I also had to miss the opening ceremony because I had a thing. But I have had the glorious joy of listening to the Eurosport, I guess, commentator who is. That was surprising because I thought he'd been fired, but apparently he's just been banned from commenting at the ISU events, but not for the Olympics, which is interesting because the reason he was fired was because he and another commentator forgot to turn their microphones off when they decided to talk really badly and misogynistically about a former skater, and yeah, it was a whole thing a couple of years ago, and now he's commenting at the Olympics, and I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, just
I love this. I love this. Uh, so we're going to talk about how fanfic language has changed and
I'm fine. My leg was cramping. It's okay.
has changed and evolved over the past years, because I think one thing that's really, really interesting about fan fiction is that it feels like in like archaeology where there's like defined layers in the sediment. Fan fiction feels like that. Like one of the reasons why Carola and I are so adamant about like, please don't dig up our old fanfic. One, a lot of these sites don't exist anymore. So haha.
I think that's for the better.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, as far as my writing is concerned, there's a lot of stuff I wish that I had saved that other people wrote. That was amazing.
Big same.
Yeah, like I wish that was still there, but my stuff, no. No.
No, I'm glad that my old stuff is gone. Off the internet. I still have a lot of it written on paper that I need to like scan into a computer. But it's like a sedimentary layer that you can see like, oh, fanfic from this period feels like this. Fanfic from this period feels like this. And it's fascinating to look and see how those changes have happened. And you can see it kind of happening with changes in fandom, with changes in the world, with technology. I love looking at old fanfic and how much of it was a response to how we were adapting to a nascent internet universe and responding to that. Yes.
No, yes. I'm quietly reminiscing and also thinking about like, obviously you are much more apt at digging here than I am. Like you're a much better archaeologist because I obviously was very active in writing and reading fanfic in like certain periods, and then I was gone for like over a decade. So I'm a little bit iffy on, what I consider as like modern, how modern it really is, because to me it feels very different, but like this could be a writing style that is like a remnant of 2015, like I don't know because I wasn't there for a very long time.
And I think it's important to hallmark on that both of us took a fanfic sabbatical for extended periods of time. I think mine happened probably. So mine, I think I was still in high school. I was late into high school, getting into college. So like 17, 18 years old. And it was famously that one Full Metal Alchemist fanfic that scarred me for life. And I just like stopped reading fanfic after that. I might have even been like 16 or 17. But like I remember it being like that transition from like late high school getting into college. Because by the time I hit college, I wasn't reading fanfic really at all.
Yeah, I think for me it was like I got into it around like when I was around 11, 12,
Mm-hmm.
and then up until I want to say 2009. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point I was just like I was mostly writing like for myself and like in these
Mm-hmm.
and like sharing with like these friends groups on
Mm-hmm.
LiveJournal mainly. LiveJournal was still alive. We'd survived the big strikeout and then the second
Yes.
strikeout, and it was before the whole site started falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I was mainly reading like fics that were written by friends in these particular circles I was in. So I wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
actively searching out new fic writers or fics anymore. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
not entirely sure what happened, but I think it's like a mix between the fact that that was kind of like when I went into that first period of just like deep depression and exhaustion and completely fell off the grid, as
Mm-hmm.
well as what was happening to the sites at the time. And there was a big like LiveJournal started dying, and there was a big like migration. Tumblr happened, and I just
Mm-hmm.
could not stand reading fic on Tumblr. I could not stand the format, and I think that kind of helped sort of like removing me. So I didn't start reading fic again until
Good Porsche.
basically Kinporsche. There were a few Bokuaka, like there were some Miritama fics that kind of
Mm-hmm.
ignited the fire a little bit again, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, mainly Kinporsche. Now I haven't I logged into AO3 and I realized that the last time I like really read something and left a comment was like a year ago, and I'm like, what the hell? I need to get back on everything.
I think I read fic last night.
Oh, I wish it was me, but I'm so tired. I just pass out. I can't
Oh,
read.
but I think it's interesting that both of us had this like break from fan fiction. And I also want to say that both of us took that break and focused on our own writing. Because at that time I was like really,
Yeah,
really
that
heavy
too.
into role play. I was also really, really heavy into writing my own stuff. Like my long gravitation fic was still a thing. That I was
There's
really
a,
only sharing with a few people.
there's a very good point because I my first novel was published in 2010, so I guess I
Yes.
was writing. I just
Yeah.
was. I
Yeah.
just
I want a hallmark that we hadn't disconnected from writing. We were just
yeah.
doing it different. And I think that's interesting because you can see in the way that fan fiction has evolved that maybe there was a reason why by this time in our writing careers
Mm.
that we felt a need to kind of disconnect.
Because again, this is important. I think we talked about this before, but
Mhm.
that back then, around the early 2010s, it
Mhm.
was still like if you wanted to be a professional writer, even if
Mhm.
that was within indie, and like indie publishing was really new then, and it was
Mhm.
also looked down upon. It's not
Mhm.
like now where like anyone, like some of the biggest like names in publishing are indie authors who are just like out doing their own thing and everyone knows them and they have like their own followings and ARCs and everything. It was nothing like that. You were already frowned upon if you were self-publishing because you weren't trad publishing, and therefore you
Mhm.
weren't the real deal. So if you were writing fanfic on top of that, that
Mhm.
was like you had to remove yourself from fic to be taken seriously. Whereas now people are more, probably because the same people have grown up, and it's kind of like if you were in those spaces, you acknowledge
Mhm.
it for the art that it is. And also people kind of think it's cool now if they find out that, kind of like us with manga, right? Finding out that your favorite mangaka used to do dojins for another
Right.
series you really like it. I think we see it more like that now, but in 2010, no.
It was frowned upon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in 2010 I was focusing on an English degree with the goal of becoming an author eventually. So it's interesting that that was kind of like the period in when we kind of I didn't stop writing fic, but I definitely disengaged in reading fic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, let's start with getting really, really granular. Carola and I have made this reference a few times, and I realize that everyone might not understand this reference. So
No.
so we both come from the Moto Fukaku school of smut writing. essentially that's the insert harder faster with every escalation of action.
Well, motofukaku means more deeper, but
What?
yeah,
Oh, I'm
it's
so
but it's
sorry.
from the same lyric.
I
Motto
know it is.
hayaku and motofukaku.
Yeah,
You know who you're
forgive
talking
me.
to. I'm fine.
No,
I
you're not. I fucked up.
Well,
But it's
it's not
essentially,
your fault. You don't live and breathe this man every day of your life. It's
I
okay.
don't. I saw him once in Japan, and I immediately alerted you.
I love him so much. I
But the
wish I was in Brazil. Okay, I'm fine. Yes, go on.
I don't think you're. I mean, you're not okay. We've established this over many years. I
Yeah.
say this with love. You're not okay,
No, I'm not. But we
but
can
I'm not
pretend.
either.
We can
But
pretend.
we can pretend. But the idea that like every escalation for us, we didn't really have language to describe like prolonged sex scenes. So it was a lot of he thrusted harder, he thrusted deeper.
Yeah.
That
There,
face.
there's yeah. No. With the occasional like the clenching of the inner walls. You could head hop a little. Like you if you switched between what was happening externally and internally, you could extend the scenes.
But we definitely didn't have a language for like a multi-page sex scene.
No, but that did
It,
not stop us from writing multiple pages of sex scenes. See,
it didn't
that's
stop us. We harder and faster. It was like that Daft Punk song. We
yeah.
just did that in combination
You were
for three.
just, it's fine, and it worked. Worked for the characters. Holy Christ!
Carola having an existential crisis.
I'm having war flashbacks.
But like we just didn't have a grasp of language for that. And I think it's really, really important. And this is something that still surprises me is how many of us started writing fic when we were young.
Mm.
I think especially nowadays looking at fic, it's very, very easy to say that like, oh, fic is the work of the elderly. You know, it's people in their 20s and 30s and sometimes even in their 40s who are writing fic.
Today on the Yaoi Shelf, the elderly, meaning the people in their 20s. What the fuck, Amanda? Why? Don't encourage the children.
I'm sorry. But like fic is like if you've been in our Discord, I've been talking a lot about Warhammer 40K. This is like what the tech priests do. It's sacred and it's for the initiated who've been doing this for a while. You don't see a lot of just like kids banging out a fic because they had an impure thought. You don't see that as much.
I mean, no, but you do. But when you do, you can also tell.
Shh. I mean,
Okay.
yes, it still happens, but
Yeah.
that's not the overall feel.
Mm.
The overall feel is that we've been in the walls for 20 years. That we've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
And to be a fic writer basically means you need to be a novel ready writer that
Yeah.
happens to write about characters they don't own, or sometimes characters they do own.
Mm.
Um, so I think it's really, really interesting that when I think about how young we were when we started, like again, when Carola and I talk about how bad our fics were when we were younger, it isn't just us negging our younger selves. Like they were bad. I was 11. It was bad.
No, it was terrible. And like for me, probably doubly so because I was writing in a language that while I was probably the best out of I was definitely the best in our class, possibly
Mm-hmm.
eventually in the whole school, at English,
Mm-hmm.
it still was not my native language. And when you are
Right.
learning a language and you are 11 years old, that is not like I remember like one of the most like to this day I think like harrowing writing experiences was me writing because I started in Team Rocket fanfic. I started in Het. God knows what happened. And I was and and everyone I was reading was obviously older than me, and I had
Mhm.
like these fandom friends who were all like, they were adults. I was 13. See, this would,
Mhm.
today I guess I would have reported them to the FBI, but because apparently that's what you do today. But they were really nice to me, and they were like,
Mhm.
they were so encouraging, and they were like, oh, you should share with us, and feel free to send me your stuff, and if you want me to read it, or whatever. And I,
Mhm.
full of confidence, did. And then there was this one fic I wrote, like it was like a Cinderella retelling. And when I say it was a retelling, like I basically just changed the names, and then I changed the animals into Pokemon. And the feedback, like they were so careful and so sweet with me when trying to tell me that maybe you should change things a little more. But I felt like I was being stabbed by 10,000 knives by my friends telling me that I sucked. So like when I say that, it was bad. Like it was important. Like this is a step you need to go through. These
Mhm.
are the foundations. Like you have to go through, you know. Okay, comparison. We talk about how kids today don't have an awkward phase anymore
Yes.
because they just grow up on TikTok and they start doing anti-aging skincare at age 3. And they don't have that weird phase of makeup that I say I didn't start wearing makeup until I was an adult, but like 12-year-olds when we were 12 compared to 12-year-olds today, right? But you can't cheat with writing in the same way that they're doing with
No,
makeup. Like you have to go through that. You
you
have to
have to go
make,
to a phase where you're derivative and
yeah,
terrible.
where it's just awful and you're trying to emulate what you're seeing, but you
Mhm.
also don't understand it. Be that because you don't understand the words that are being used, because you
Mhm.
don't understand literary references or
Mhm.
composition, or just
Mhm.
because you haven't experienced what you're writing about. You don't know what you're doing. And
We're
you
gonna
have
have a
to go,
whole section on that.
yeah, and you have to go through that, because the only way to get better is to start somewhere and
Mhm.
just write until you're better. So at some point, arguably, you were worse. That's just how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, I think about the old fic that I wrote, like, it was so derivative. It was so,
Yeah.
like, clearly lifting stuff from things I read, and, like, not in the artistic way, because all artists steal.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just like, that's
No,
just the reality.
and that is just the thing. Like, if you are in, I remember this so vividly in in
Yeah.
school as well. Like every Norwegian teacher, every English teacher, but particularly Norwegian teachers, right? Because
Mhm.
that's basically our literature classes. Because
Mhm.
English was mostly focusing on like grammar or whatever,
Right.
and but so in Norwegian or like your native language literature
Mhm.
classes, there would always be a teacher telling you to steal like ravens. That's what we were told, because that's, intertextuality is a thing. And
It is.
everything is derivative, everything is a reference, everything is inspired or is an
Mhm.
homage, or,
Mhm.
and that's part of the fun thing. Like, I personally love these little puzzles when I'm reading, like seeing where, oh, this is so clearly a reference to that thing. And I think that that's really fun.
Yeah. I
But that was
it
not.
That's not what we were doing. We weren't doing it with we weren't doing it with the reverence and care of like a film director. So like
No.
if you need good examples of like artists steal, film is a really good place for that. Where like everyone parodies the same fucking Alfred Hitchcock shot. Everyone is
Yeah.
trying to do a 47 Ronin. Everyone.
It's kind of
Every
like,
director.
there are so many like films where I have never seen the original, but
Mhm.
I've grown up with 5,000 parodies. I know exactly
Yeah.
what it is. I know the reference. I can tell you a million things about that scene, but I've never seen the film. I just grew up, with references in everything from cartoons to other movies to,
Right.
skit shows.
Right.
That's, yeah.
Um but there was this massive it felt in hindsight it feels so necessary
Mm,
that we started off writing poorly. And some would argue, I would argue, I still don't feel like I write very well.
same. I mean,
I like I can acknowledge objectively that I write better than I did when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the way that I acknowledge objectively time has passed between when I was 16 and now.
Yeah.
But like I still to this day don't think, and it's that very very complicated like writer moment where like it's not necessarily that I think I'm bad.
Mm.
I just don't think I'm that good.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a difference, and if you know, then you know. But it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to explain. And then there's also that thing, which is you're talking about objectivity, but
Mhm.
subjectivity is such a big part of it because
Mhm.
so many people don't understand. We've talked about this a million times in a million different contexts, but so many people don't understand that you not liking something does not
Mhm.
mean that it's bad. And that is
Yes.
like, this is something you see in school, for instance, when people have to have like a book report, they have to present a book they read,
Mhm.
and then they'll be like, this book sucked. And that's not what they mean. What they mean is, I did not enjoy this. I thought
Mhm.
this was boring. I didn't understand it, so I
Mhm.
didn't like it. Because arguably, this book is out there for a reason. Like, someone thinks this, like, that's the thing though. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean that it's bad. And but the person reading, if you don't like a certain style, if you don't
Mhm.
like a certain genre, then
Mhm.
that might not be for you. That doesn't mean that it's bad. So for me, for instance, like sometimes I will read something and I'll be like, oh, I wish I wrote like this, but I also know that my style isn't like that. And so
Right.
to some people, I know that some people will look at my style and say, oh, it's too simplistic, or it's too this, or it's too that, so it's bad, which is where where I feel like, oh, I'm not good. But then others don't feel like that. It's a strange and complicated world.
It is, and it's so deeply personal as
Yeah.
well. Of like
Yeah.
the things that we hold as like, oh my god, this is where I have a moral failing. It's like mine right now is length.
Mm.
Like I can maybe do like 2 to 4 thousand words per chapter before I'm just rambling. Before I'm just, and he eloquently, elegantly spoke, whispered into. It's
It's
like,
like, is this just me trying to meet a word count? Is this
yeah,
a nano?
like
Right. Yeah. Oh, wait, did you see?
organically,
I just
I,
kicked the cat.
oh
Oh
no,
my god.
I can organically do usually like max 5K. And then usually like I've either exhausted the point or I'm just tired.
Yeah, I just think it's fascinating how, like, and I genuinely think this is a thing. I think that literally every single other writer in this world
Mm-hmm.
has has a better idea of what they're doing than what I do, because I keep talking to people and people are like, "Oh, I wrote this many words," or when people say, like, those posts that go around and people are like, how many pages is your book? And then it's like, writer pages, because writers work in words, right? I don't
Right.
work in either. And I think it's so fascinating when I'm like reading and I realize that this author has, like, every single chapter is approximately 20 pages. And I'm like, do
Mm-hmm.
they plan this? Because I don't know. I have no idea how many words my chapters are. I have no idea how many pages they are. I don't know what I'm doing. My brain has been hijacked by these characters who are just doing whatever, regardless of whether I'm writing fic or like original.
Yes.
Same procedure. I have no control. I don't know what's happening, and I don't understand how every single other author on this planet seems to be aware of like numbers, and then I'm over here like, I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna rein us back into the outline a little bit because we could be here all day.
But look
Um,
at us though. We're talking about writing. I'm
I know we're doing such a good job.
wow.
Um, so to wrap up the first point, there was a time where, and this is again like Carola and I are constantly talking about. It's a wonder we stayed in these spaces. Sex was so uninteresting when it was just harder, faster, deeper all the time.
And at the same time, like
Yeah.
there's that part of you that is just like, these characters are banging. That's all I care about. Like, this is great.
Right. Right. Like that was the objective and we reached it. But now like the idea of a fic writer doing that like causes me like pain. The
Mm.
idea of reading a fic that's like that now like hurts. And again, not to say that I mean, I we all fall into this sometimes. He thrust in harder, he moved in deeper. I do it. But
Yeah,
like
no,
but without any kind of follow up or additional words
yeah.
dedicated to it. Like when
I
we
think,
say harder, faster, it was literally just harder, faster.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I if we need to break it down and be very literal about it, it's kind of like how, discussing um how you write variation, and
Mm-hmm.
especially because this has been a discussion that you see a lot in,
Mm-hmm.
like reading and writing spaces about overusing certain words, or
Mm-hmm.
like writing things in a certain way. And especially because I think, especially when you are writing same-sex romances, you
Mm-hmm.
have to do a lot more like
Yes.
different ways of identifying the speaker. Because if you just go he said, he said, he said, or like name, 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 it either gets really confusing or it gets so repetitive. Like, I prefer if you change it around a little bit with, like features or distinctions to
The raven
distinguish.
haired male.
Yeah, not necessarily that one. We've all done that one, but yes,
The
no, not the raven-haired male. But which, I am still on the editing train. There is some distinguishment that will be changed in these novels, but yeah, no, but it's kind of the same thing, right? It's not
yes.
about saying if you write this specific, like harder, faster, or he said, or the
Mm-hmm.
older man said. That doesn't mean that just because you use that phrase, you are inherently a terrible writer. It is,
Yes.
how often do you use it? How is it used? What else
Mm-hmm.
is in there? What is the
Mm-hmm.
context? Like, we're not saying
Yes.
that if you write a certain phrase that you're awful and should, just stop writing altogether. That is not what we're saying. But it's, you know, you have to be a, there has to be there has to be a context to it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
there
when we
has to
say
be.
that it was literally just like, and then
He fucked him harder, faster. Like that was it.
yeah, and
Like
then
there's a huge difference between like, oh, and he angled up his hips and thrust in deeper. Like there's a
yeah,
huge difference between that and he fucked him harder and faster. There
yeah,
are
and then in
massive
the
differences
next,
between those
and then in the
sentences.
next sentence, it was like he fucked him
Even
faster
harder.
and harder.
Yeah, he fucked him even faster and harder.
And then you just add like a qualifier, and then like move the phrases around. Perfect, excellent.
Then the next sentence is you put the even in italics for emphasis.
Yes. And then you throw in some moaning, and it's just like, preferably if you were on our side of the internet, in Japanese, terrible Japanese.
Yes.
That is, yes, correct. That is how we did it. And no.
We like that. What were we
but
doing?
but we didn't know what we were doing.
No. Oh. Do you remember there was a very, very distinct period of fanfic era where we used to write things like movie scripts?
Yes, I didn't do it a lot, but I definitely remember it.
I wrote a lot of my on paper fics like this.
Mm.
And I used to write them on my word processor like this. So fun fact, there was a reason why at least I did this, and I can't speak for every fan, but I know why I did this. So I used to write a lot of my fic in Notepad
Mm.
rather than Word because I was writing a bunch of like Japanese names and stuff like that, or like non-traditional names because at that time I was writing a lot of like Full Metal Alchemist and stuff. So leave me alone. So
Mm.
non-traditional names, and I got. Turns out it was neurodiversity, but I really hated seeing that something was spelled wrong.
No, really?
drove me up the fucking wall. So I
I
wouldn't write in Microsoft Word.
I didn't use okay because here's the thing. When I got my first computer, it was again showing my age here. You know, we
Mm,
had a family computer. I
of
remember
course.
my dad bringing home our first family computer, which
Mhm,
was a Windows 95. And
mhm,
then when my dad bought the family a Windows 98,
mhm.
the 95 was moved into my room, and that was my computer. And
Yep.
I was a literal child, so I just opened the first Word document I found, which was WordPad.
Mhm.
Is that what it's called? WordPad? Word?
It was
Because it's
WordPad
not.
or Notepad.
Yeah, no, it was not Notepad, and it wasn't
Mhm.
Microsoft Word. I didn't
Yes.
start using Microsoft Word until like 2010 because I was so set in my ways. I wrote everything in WordPad, which didn't have, it didn't have an autocorrect. Like it didn't have
No.
a correction system like that. At least
No.
not. I guess maybe you could turn it on, but I didn't know how to do that. So, I
We
just
weren't we weren't smart enough to do that yet.
okay. But full disclosure, though, I have been using Word since like okay, maybe earlier than 2010, maybe like
Mhm.
2006. But the version of Word that I am using is 2010 because that is the version I own and I love
Mhm.
it. And I think the new one is ugly. And I have written so much on this thing. I have written 4 novels on this thing. And the other day, like before Christmas, the other day, I was editing and I was
Literal months ago before.
yeah, the other day,
Okay. Okay.
I was so annoyed because I'm getting like on like I'm approaching page like 200 of the
Mhm.
script that I'm editing, and every single day I open it and I have to scroll fucking miles to get to where I was. And I was
Mhm.
like, why the fuck can't I just like isn't there a way for me to save where the hell I am? It was on that day that I realized I could Google this and found out that there is, in fact, a bookmark function
Yes,
in
there
Word
is.
that I
There is.
literally learned about in December 2025. I am still learning. I'm learning every day. I'm an idiot because I'm
No.
so set in my ways that I just do things the way I've always done them. And
Yes.
because I didn't know any better 15 years ago, I'm still making the same mistakes.
Well, and I think about how much technology has changed how we write.
Yeah.
Again, so like using Notepad to write those very like script like fics
Hmm.
because of the limitations of the software that we had.
Yeah.
I think now, yes, I know Google is training everything for AI. I work in marketing. Everything is training everything from AI. There is no ethical consumption under capitalism.
I
If
want to lay down and die.
I do too. But
Yeah.
like things like ellipsis was not a thing. We just didn't have options for that. And I also remember like during that time kind of like raw dogging a fic where you write it in wherever you're posting it.
Mm.
The idea of typing fic directly into AO3 makes me like physically ill.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I could never. But
But
I
we
also
used to do that all the time.
yeah, and I also think that I mean, I didn't, but people certainly did.
Okay.
But I also think that in terms of that script thing, I think it's
Mhm.
also like because I was in a lot of fandom spaces where people would remember those like ask sites. This is
Mhm.
before Tumblr. They're essentially like role player sites
Mhm.
where you could ask the characters question, and then the person who owned the site or the blog
Would
eventually
respond
would
in
would
character.
respond in character, and then they would
Mhm.
post these. And so on the old GeoCities pages, there would be like pages and pages of these like questions and answers, and you would have
Mhm.
multiple characters, and that would always be in script form, with the little
Mhm.
asterisks explaining
Yep.
their actions. And
Yep.
also people would just full on post role plays as fics, and so
Yes.
that was also in script form. There was a lot more of that, I think. So it wasn't that everyone wanted to write like a film. It was just a very natural way of for
Yeah, we
many
weren't
people
we
to
weren't
just
all trying to know it. Like it was just how a lot of the writing of the day
yeah.
happened.
And especially if
And
you were just like writing like because I did that. I
mhm.
didn't post these anyway anywhere, but I would do this for a friend of mine. Like every single day, I would write her like a little, like I guess it would be like a drabble, but it was in like script form where it was just
Mhm.
like two characters and there was like a scene.
Mhm.
So we would just like you would just write out little scenes or little like just like dialogues between the
Mhm.
characters with nothing around it.
Right. Absolutely. And again, like the idea of posting something like that now is like I wouldn't go anywhere. That wouldn't hit the algorithm correctly.
Like
There'd be
there's
no
no
audience for
prose here.
that.
It's just there's just dialogue.
Well, and I liked those because get like harkening back to the mythical old days. We talk about the old days in the way that I think like a lot of conservative Americans talk about the 50s, but like we also try to be balanced and say it wasn't always perfect. But like that was also one of those things about that old era of fanfic is that if you were doing like an ask box, if you were doing something like this, you had to know that character so well.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just looked at our outline because it's in the window next here to us and I saw a word and I died. It's fine.
Which word?
I will
I'm
I can
afraid.
I can mark it for you. I just didn't expect to see this in my periphery vision. Like you're just like waxing poetically about the past and I'm just like being assaulted in the corner of my left eye.
I can't. Oh my
What
god.
the hell? Okay,
I'm
go on.
crying.
I'm sorry. I was
No, you're not. Oh, but you had to be so on top of characterization to do that.
mm, mm.
That like oftentimes, at least like I know when I got to like do exercises like that, I couldn't focus on the outside world. I had to write like a script because like I was so busy like trying to beam my consciousness into this character.
Yeah.
Like no, I could not be asked to think about that character
No.
like in bodily relation to anything else. I was trying to like use alchemy to become that character.
Which ironically was a Full Metal Alchemist character. Um
Yeah.
no, but yeah, but also going back to what you said earlier, we also just purely did not necessarily have the language. Like
No.
if you are writing out like you're not even because you're not writing out a scene like I said it would be like it would be a scene in the sense that here's a prompt, this is what the
Mhm.
characters are discussing or
Mhm.
whatever, but it was mostly like just like scenario dialogue but not
Mhm.
any actual physical setting because we didn't know how to make these. How do you weave a mood into this? How do you explain without explaining what is going
Mhm.
on? Like we didn't know how to do that yet.
We also hadn't grasped setting very well.
No.
Um, there was a lot of talking head fic back in the day.
Sometimes I wonder if like is this why I still like I a lot of what I do is very dialogue driven. I'm probably
Yeah.
damaged. But I think it's also again because I do like the BL that I write is very like manga inspired and so it's
Mhm.
kind of like that is also dialogue driven. So it's
Mhm.
character driven. But it's like it makes me think, like oh, because I came from that.
Yeah, like there was a lot of talking head fic back in the day where like everything is just floating in this miasma. Like beds appear out of nowhere. We're using teleportation to get room to room. Like there's
Oh
nothing
my
like nothing physical exists. Nothing is
god,
pinned
true.
down
It's
anywhere.
true. But
Everyone just exists in this like gelatinous cube.
But it's so funny when you say it like that because if you think about last month when we talked about ye old BL ovas, it's essentially the same thing.
No, it's
Just
the same thing.
like disembodied, like just like body parts floating in the air, and then there's like a bed, and there's like some weird like background just floating like that. No wonder we wrote like that. This is like this was what we were seeing. Maybe there's probably someone out there who, as a young Fujin,
Mhm.
thought that gay sex worked like that. Like the second you started having gay sex, the world would just disappear, and it would all
Yeah,
just
you'd start
be
having a very vivid hallucination,
yeah, and it's
and the world turned gossamer.
like a literal out of body experience. We're just like floating in space. You don't know what's happening because this this is what BL used to look like. I'm sorry.
It looked like everything was filmed. Remember in the like in like the 2010s where we were putting like fabric over DSLR
Yeah.
cameras and taking photos in the woods.
Oh my god. Like you
Speak,
guys don't understand what we've been through.
I think they do. They can see that we're clearly fucked up. I think that they,
Well, this is an ongoing origin story on the Yaoi Shelf, just like finding out how we got to be this way. Uh, it's
speaking
been
of how we got this way. Hey, so remember how Carola and I both said that we started writing these fics when we were very, very young?
mm-mm.
And to not out either of us in our sexual exploit, because those are personal.
I mean, I okay, if you say so. Because, like I said in our private chat, like I am just full on prepared to just completely
And
flaunt
and
my
I see that
teenage sex.
46 minutes has happened and we're 3 inches deep in this outline.
Much like if we were writing a Moto Fukaku fic from
Yeah, we are this deep in, and we have just been shallow thrusting the same thing over and over again. So this
this
isn't
is what
about
happens when you don't use enough lube. It's just
this has nothing to do with me sparing everyone the dignity of hearing us talk about our early sex lives, and everything to do with we have inches to move.
yeah. Yeah, let's go. Okay, go on. You were saying.
One of those moments where I'm out of body and thinking someone's going to hear this. And I hope it's taken out of context.
Oh my god.
But there was this, I think there's this really, really fascinating transition for a lot of us because, much like Carola, I started in het. I started in OC driven het because I wasn't going through anything at the time. Shut up.
Okay. Sorry. My bad. Didn't say anything. I'm gonna have some water.
Yeah, I wasn't having a Catholic guilt about anything at the time, and all the thoughts of the opposite sex were very pure and not at all complicated. So I was doing a het for a while, an OC driven het for a while, and I think we brought a good amount of our het nonsense into BL for a while because that's all we could do to conceptualize. Because one thing that is still true about the BL fanfic space is that it's still driven by women or AFABs. We might not all be women anymore, but we were still assigned female at birth. So there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
When writing male anatomy that many of us did not navigate with grace.
Yeah. I do want to preface that while the het fics that I was reading and to a certain extent writing at the time, though not so much, because when I was writing those I still definitely was very much a child, 11, 12, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't write explicit then. but I think that also had to do with the fact that the sex that happened in the fics that I was consuming at the time, and I think that this was probably just like a lucky break for me, I guess. Like that they weren't like, there was sex, like there was definitely sex, but it was always very like tasteful, and it wasn't like porny, not like the stuff I got into. The moment I fell into that BL hole, literally, that was completely different. But I definitely saw a lot of porn, because again, I have mentioned the time that I accidentally stumbled upon my first hentai sites. So it wasn't like I hadn't seen these things, but I hadn't read them in in as explicit forms as I would very shortly thereafter when I got into BL. So I wasn't damaged yet. Like, it was the BL that damaged me. Like, I didn't take that from the headspace, is what I'm trying to say. No one
I
described dicks in the headspace as I was in.
like most women in America, was damaged by the headspace.
Yeah, no, I can see why. And like, I'm so glad that it was like, for me, it was like, it was almost always like, oh, and then she led him to the bedroom and it was like fade to black. Or it would
Y'all
be
had
like,
consent.
yeah, and it was like tasteful lovemaking after going through some trauma. It was
Y'all had consent.
yeah, we did. Yeah, the Team Rocket fandom in the year 2000 was very sweet and wholesome. And, and I am so grateful considering like the things I've seen and heard from my friends, and like what you're telling me, or like what I'm hearing from the romance fandoms now. I'm like, well, thank God it wasn't like that.
Y'all had consent back in those days.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I left that space shortly thereafter. So yeah.
But yeah, like there was definitely I remember that learning curve of like how to adjust to writing male anatomy and to like adjust to writing sex in a way that I fundamentally didn't feel.
Mm.
And then like at least for me, gender expression helped a little bit because now sometimes I get to be a man. And while it isn't exactly the same, it's very similar.
Mm.
Or it's as similar as possible.
Yeah.
Given anatomy.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I will say, I trying to keep this as private as, like, I don't really care, but for the sake of our listeners and for those who might know me but not know me as well as you've gotten these stories, it's fine. I did not start writing smut like wording it. Like, I would do the fade to black or whatever, like vaguing it. So I didn't start writing porn until I started having sex, because again, I was in a committed relationship for most of my teenage years. So, but the interesting part, obviously, is that even though, unlike a lot of fanfic writers out there who identified as female, I had personal knowledge of this anatomy. However, I was still emulating what other people were writing. So while I did, like, that's the thing, like, even, like, obviously I would draw on whatever personal experience, but at the same time, I'm not Sasuke or Naruto, I don't, like, so if I'm gonna write this, I have to copy what the other Sasuke writers are doing.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. And like, we say that becoming sexual beings helped a lot with smut writing, and I agree. Like, having sex was the best decision I made for my smut writing career.
That's the only reason we were doing it, clearly.
Yeah, right. Having sex was very eye-opening to how I wrote smut, and like some of the hang-ups now you hear us rail about. When it comes to, I knew you were gonna do it. I felt it. I felt it in the wind.
Why do you have to enable me? Oh my God.
I felt it in the wind. I knew you were going to do that. Like, when you hear us rant for like an extended period of time of like, don't use random things as lube, like, that comes from deeply personal parts. That you guys don't need to hear about. That's what Patreon is for.
And a lot of BL. Oh, so we're going to talk. Okay. Yeah. Coming up on Patreon, weird things we've used as lube, apparently.
So, And even to this day, like I still rely on other fic writers to get an idea of what these characters look like. So like when I was writing Trigun fic, I
Mm,
relied a lot on other Trigun writers to give me an idea of what these characters looked like and sounded like in bed.
mm.
Like the consensus idea that Wolfwood is definitely packing, that is an osmotic idea
Yeah, it's
that
like
other
Matt's hair, right? Like it's just this. It's
we've
just
all
this.
agreed.
Everyone agreed, and
We all agreed.
sometimes you're blessed, okay? Because like
Mhm.
in the Kin Porsche universe, canonically, Kin has a massive penis. Like we know this because
Okay.
it is stated very explicitly in the
Okay.
original novels. So everyone's running with it. It's fine.
Mhm.
But for a lot of these things, because again, we were writing and consuming a lot of fic from things that weren't explicitly sexual or
Mhm.
explicitly gay. There was just, like you said, this fandom osmosis where everyone just decided that this is a thing and
Yeah.
this character has this kink or this character sounds like this
Yeah.
or everyone agrees.
And it's weird when you don't agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fandom osmosis is weird. I don't think there's not enough for a whole episode on it, but fandom osmosis is crazy that like just someone makes a decision one day and like lemmings we all just like, yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
sounds
would
right.
I would love I wonder if like someone must have done research on this. Like I have to go and like look up academic papers on this because it's such a fascinating thing. It's just this giant hive mind
It
and
is.
it's just like everyone just knows. You just
Yeah,
know.
we've all just agreed one day that like, oh yeah, this character does this. It's not written. We have no proof. We don't know. But, but now
But
if
we
you do
know.
it, but if you do a counter to that now, it's weird and you're wrong.
Yeah. Because the ancient texts
Yeah, the
said
ancient
so.
text of someone on Tumblr.
And it's like I don't even care. Like I'm about to go completely against what I usually say, but I don't care who you are. Like you can be the author coming out and saying that actually no, you're wrong. Sit down. This was decided 16 years ago. You can't just come in here and join the discussion now. And
No, 100%. If the Death Note creators came out like tomorrow with like a joint press release and is like, just kidding, Matt's hair is green.
no.
Yeah.
First of all, who do you think you are?
Like if it was like a 25th anniversary press release or whatever, and they came out and it was like, hey, y'all need to stop writing and drawing him as a redhead. His hair is not that color.
And it's like, okay, excuse me, you drew him for 8 panels, and we collectively
We
have been
collectively have given
writing and
him more
drawing him.
story than you ever did.
You shut up and sit down and do some studying. Okay.
We owe this character now. But no, I think it's so interesting how again, like there's this reliance on community
Mm.
that we need to write a lot of this stuff because yeah, like I mean, I'm not chaste, but I still don't know like physically how some of that stuff works, like at least like experiencing in my own body.
Yeah.
You know, it's really really interesting that that part of anatomy and you can still see it in like some older fans where like we write male anatomy in a very unique way.
Yeah. Because we're talking about how fanfic has changed and fanfic language has changed. And I think that one of the things that I think is fascinating about this, like the language and also the anatomy part of it, is like I am not alone on this. I have said this before. I'm not a big fan of testicles. I don't
I
like
knew
them.
it. I knew
I don't. Like,
I
here it
knew it.
comes. Here it comes. Let's bring it back. I don't like them. I mean, no offense if you have them or if you like them or whatever. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. And I think depending, like if you draw them, like sometimes a mangaka will draw them in a way that looks very natural and they're just like, They're there, but they're very anonymous. I'm fine with that. But I think back in the day, a lot of us just ignored them. Like they like, yeah, obviously they're there because there's an ejaculation happening, but we just didn't acknowledge their existence. And then now everyone is just like, there's so much description.
Well, and
There's
again,
just
like I wonder how much of that goes back to what we were reading at the time, because these 2000s fucking semes that were all chin and chest, it was just phallus. Like they never, early mangaka never focused on that part of the anatomy. It was all phallus all the time.
yeah, and again, if you were watching it animated, it
Mhm.
wasn't even a phallus.
It was a
It
beam of
wasn't even
light.
there. It was just like, imagine, just pretend it's there. It's
Right.
fine.
So between censorship and just the art style that many of us were raised on,
Mm-hmm.
that was the least active part to
Yeah.
deal with. And like even now, it's a hurdle that I deal with in my writing. I'm better at it than I was, but I still like it's an afterthought. And when it
Yeah.
comes up and there are writers that are really, really focused on it, there's always an initial squick.
Yeah. And when I'm writing myself, I'll be like, okay, I guess I'll just force a mention in there so that people know that I know what the male anatomy looks like, I guess.
That we've seen that we've seen
like,
a naked
like-
man in our past.
But I mean, that was also part of it. Like, no shade to anyone, but like, they're not. When you've seen testicles, especially in certain situations,
Settings.
they're
Yeah.
not like. There are prettier things to look at, like, I don't want to. Maybe we could have included them in our 3-page, sex scenes, and substituted some of those harder and faster with, a mention of a testicle, but we didn't. Okay.
Wait.
And now all of a sudden they're being fondled and they're being sucked on and they're drawing close to their bodies, and I'm like, what is happening? Because in my day, we sure as hell we tried to ignore them.
This is the part of the show where I remind you that these videos are demonetized and they're on
I
Patreon.
can't imagine why.
This is the part of the show where I have to insert we are demonetized on every platform. Please help us. So
I'm just living for the fact that should someone from my family who occasionally ask about this podcast come across this, like, they don't understand any of the words I'm saying, but I'm sure they understand the word testicle. Hi, family. This is what I do on the internet.
My aunts are constantly like, we want to hear your podcast because
No,
like,
you
they
don't.
love my aunts love you.
I know. I love them too.
They think you're so cool and they want to meet you so badly. And I don't have the heart to tell them that you're a weird gremlin.
I mean, it wouldn't take very long for them to find out, I think.
And keep in mind, Carola's words, not mine. Because inevitably this is someone's first episode. Hi, how did you find us?
Hi.
Nice
to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We hope we made a good impression. So, if this is your first episode, you might be thinking, wow, that was really, really mean to say about your co-host. No, those are Carola's words about herself.
It is true.
Oh. But my
I've said worse things in our private chat.
Okay, if we're using the private chat as a metric, we've both said worse things.
About me specifically.
Correct. But yeah, my aunt's like, oh, we'd love to listen to the show. No, you don't.
No.
You don't.
I don't think they could take it. Like, they're good Catholic, just like
Oh,
good
they can take
Catholic
it.
aunties.
No, they used to get it. No. We're adults now. I get to hear the Lord stories. No, they can handle it.
Okay, well,
all right.
hi, auntie.
Okay, so remember our previous episode where we talked a lot about dead doves and reading fic as like a pain ritual.
Yes.
Why did we do that?
You know what? I ask myself this question on a regular basis as I am reading things that hurt me. Uh,
What the fuck was that? Oh, but like, I think about it now, and it's so interesting that like nowadays I have like comfort fic. So like one thing that I'm bad at sometimes is reading new fic. I will read the same fic into the dust as like a bedtime story.
oh
Like it's
yeah,
a part of
no.
my nighttime ritual. So I want the same predictable thing happening and not the time that I read that Kingsman euthanasia fic at night and cried myself to sleep.
I think we've all been there, though not necessarily with Kingsman euthanasia, but you know,
Oh yeah, we've all been
sometimes
there.
yeah, like you know, sometimes you just want to read because everyone loves a vampire story, right? And then you're just like in bed reading this vampire fic, and then you don't actually expect them to do like a whole fucking let the right one come in bit, and then someone, and then it's like a painful, horrible, sad thing where people die.
Yeah.
That was
We've
my
all
bedtime. I'm not okay.
yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
You know, but I think one thing that I remember about old fic was how little of it was for enjoyment.
Again, I think we were in very like vastly different spheres.
We
But
were.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah, well, and I don't want to say like all fic that I read was like this because yeah, like I did have fic that I read for fun back in those days,
Mm.
and I did have fic that I wrote for fun back in those days. But we've talked about like the performative angst of early fandom,
Oh
and
yeah.
fic played a huge part in that. That there was this like ritual that we had to perform every once in a while to prove our worth, where the challenge was to write or read the most disturbing thing we could. And we'd egg each other on. Like I remember this happening a lot on Quizilla, which is exactly why we got shut down. Younger people are discovering the Quizilla controversy where it got shut down partially by J.K. Rowling. No, we deserved it. We were awful. The grossest stuff was happening on Quizilla. Like, did it suck that it was Joe Rowling that finally put the nail in the coffin? Yes, and it was bad. We deserved every bad thing that happened to us. It was a cesspit. It was my cesspit, but it was a cesspit.
Like it was your home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like
It was a radioactive hellscape. It was my radioactive hellscape. It was a radioactive hellscape.
very much get out of my swamp vibes.
literally that. It's again, it's that old versus new controversy where like I can talk bad about Hitalia. You youth cannot talk bad about Hitalia.
You know, I was literally just thinking about Hitalia for obvious reasons, but also because I am currently watching the Hanakimi anime.
Mhm.
And yesterday I watched episode 6.
Mhm.
And there's this scene where the main character's older brother, who very much looks like a blonde foreigner, comes to Japan to see his little sister. And she of course looks like a little boy. And there's this scene, bless you,
Thank you.
where he's kind of like towering over her, and she has like this short chestnut hair, and he's this tall blonde kind of shouldery dude, and I'm like, this looks like Germany and Italy. And I'm like, I am so damaged, and I didn't even go there. It was very strange. And I thought about you, as I so often do.
With the worst things.
I know.
With the worst fucking
Like I see something horrible / traumatic / this reminds me of something awful. Oh, Amanda would love
Amanda.
this. Literally that.
Oh,
I think I actually said this to someone at some point during the last week. I was like, "Oh, Amanda would love this." I can't remember what it was, but it was horrible.
oh my god. But like we used fic as like this like angst ritual for so long.
Mm.
And like again, like the idea now of using fic as something that comforts, it always feels wrong. It's like, no, that's not what fic is for. We're supposed to be using it to prove that we can eat the most dead doves.
Again, we ran in different circles,
We
though.
did. But
Yes.
you were aware of it.
No, I was aware of it, and again, I was also very much like on the performative side, like, oh, but I
Mhm.
watched this or I read like, but like I mostly read things that made me feel good, you
Mhm.
know. But there's also very much that part where, oh, these characters are suffering in canon, so
Mhm.
they need to suffer even more in fanon before they can have the happy ending. I was very
Yes.
much on that train. Like the more
Yes.
angst, the better. As long as it ended well. I wasn't big on the like really sad endings. I wasn't big on the dead dubs. But oh, did they have to go through stuff?
Yeah, I think it almost feels like those like purification rituals you see in like religion, where like you have to go through a lot to come out on the other end.
Mm,
That
mm,
was a huge part of it. Where like,
yeah,
yeah, you get your happy ending after 15 chapters of suffering.
yeah.
Uh,
And of course, again, we also very much came from shonen,
we did.
and I, not only me, because again we know they are the founding fathers of the gay, but like in Naruto, there's not a single character who doesn't have a traumatic, horrible backstory. It was like the fucking Naruto is the trauma Olympics, and so when the fic writers get their grubby little hands on that, no one was having a
Yeah,
good
you
time.
focus on
Like,
all the terrible things.
yeah,
You focus on all the awful things.
yeah,
And then you get like one sugar sweet ending. You get a genuinely thought provoking and kind ending after 15 chapters of utter suffering. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have somewhere to be?
no, I was just checking if this thing was charging, and it is not. And I don't understand why. I'm trying. I'm trying to do something useful while I don't use this watch, but apparently, I'm not allowed.
One other big thing that has changed, and I think Carola and I have talked about this in parts, but man, criticism was not helpful back in those days. And like,
What?
I think every writer, okay, I'll preface it this way. Any writer that says they have a healthy relationship with criticism is lying to you. None of us do. None of us do. We all take it personally, even if you mean well. There's always going to be a brief moment where we take it incredibly personally, and then we usually exercise that demon and then get rid of it. But
Yeah.
man, we used criticism used to be like in that old dog training show with Caesar Milan, where we discovered it was just animal abuse. We're just and just shut
Yeah.
someone down.
I'm so glad I never watched that. I always got a bad vibe from that.
I mean, yeah, it turns out it's just abusing your animals. Don't do that. You don't need to dominate your Pomeranian. That's not how that works. You don't need to be a pack leader to your Chihuahua. It's a pet. Um,
Also, as a Chihuahua, it doesn't care.
oh, my family had a horrible Chihuahua.
I love Chihuahuas and I will defend them till the day I die. But they also do not care because
No.
in their little heads, they are the leaders and they are bigger than you and you can't tell them anything, okay?
Yeah,
That's
my
and that's
family
why I love them.
family had a horrible Chihuahua for like 15 years that terrorized the household. Uh, but just we would get some of the worst comments. One flame wars were a thing where you would just get dog piled on for writing fanfic to begin with. And two, for whatever reason, everyone was convinced that they were a better writer than everyone else. So I remember getting, I don't know if you've heard this one or you've gotten this one, but purple prose.
Mm.
For those of you that don't know what that means, purple prose basically in writing language is saying that something is overly flowery or ornate, or you're using elaborate language to draw attention to the fact that you know words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's never really done to satisfy the story or to like satisfy the character. It's done to say that you own a thesaurus.
Or you are a thesaurus.
Or you are the thesaurus. uh, but I remember like there was this very, very distinct time early on where like I don't know how normies found out about purple prose, but they would just throw it under anything.
Yeah.
This fic has a lot of purple prose. It's 250 words. No, it doesn't.
Maybe they came from the script fix. I don't know. Because
Maybe. But like there was just so much unhelpful criticism. And I feel bad because I know this stopped people from writing. I
Yeah.
know it has.
yeah. And you know, and it's again, it's one of those things where it's like there's the balance aspect of it. Like you see it now with content creation online and this idea that, well, if you put something out there, you will be subject to criticism, and you just have to live with that. Like if you don't want to be criticized, don't put yourself out there. That isn't entirely how that works.
No.
Like that's the thing. And I know people, I knew people back then as well who would literally put in their fix like no criticism please, because
Yes.
people will defend themselves with using the term constructive criticism, but that's not necessarily what that person is looking for. And sure, you can criticize that and say that, but I'm just being helpful, or I just want them to know that when you phrase things like that, it looks stupid or whatever. But like some people have their feelings genuinely hurt, and it ended up like killing their joy of writing because they felt like they were being dogpiled, because that would be and of course you can say that some people are too sensitive, because that thing where it's like, oh, it takes 1,000 attaboys to undo one like negative comment, and so you could like write like a long comment about how all of these things you liked, but then you would be like, oh, but I didn't like this, or actually you should change because this is grammatically incorrect or whatever, and then that would end up overshadowing the whole thing. And you can argue whether or not that is okay. But I mean, I learned again through that osmosis, like through seeing how my older like writing companions were phrasing these things, that unless they specifically asked for constructive criticism, or like unless they specifically said, hey, if you see a typo, please point it out so I can fix it, don't do it. Because ultimately people were doing this for fun, and they didn't want to be like, and again, like you said, there were some really terrible, like we talk a lot about how unhealthy and toxic fandom is today, but like honestly back then as well, it was, I mean, we weren't doxing each other, we weren't saying that, we weren't calling up the FBI and saying this person is a pedophile, but it still wasn't necessarily healthy. So I absolutely understand the people who didn't want that kind of comment.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's interesting because like even to this day, like I don't always process, like I have to be in a very, very certain mood to process feedback.
Yeah.
And I can acknowledge that. Like I have to be in a very, very certain mood. But it's so interesting to think that like, yeah, like this ruined people because they were receiving such unhelpful feedback. And to be perfectly honest, I wish that there was a middle ground, because sometimes it feels like I'm posting into the void.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I wrote this because writers are paradoxical. I don't know if you've noticed this about us.
I don't what.
I I deeply want to answer self-indulgent questions about why I chose this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, please ask me where the title came from. It's probably a song lyric. Please tell me, please ask me about this particular reference or ask me why I made a character choice. I want to answer those questions.
Yeah, I want to gush about this so
Yeah.
bad, but
But
also
don't ever ask me to tell you about it organically.
do not perceive me as a writer. I
No,
don't no. No.
no. And if you ask me a question on AO3, oh my god, I can spill my guts and say everything that I've ever wanted to say about this character, but I can never like go in front of a microphone and just say it myself. I'm not allowed. It's like a monkey's paw curse.
Yeah,
I'm not allowed.
and then for me, you add the Scandinavian.
Yeah.
I
And you don't
don't
want to talk about this anyways.
I listen, I, I I don't want to be perceived. I
Yeah.
do not want to have high thoughts about myself. I don't want you to think that I have high thoughts about myself. I know that
Mhm.
you literally asked me a question because you are interested, but by the Scandinavian laws and also the laws of
Mhm.
writing, I am not allowed to answer this question. It doesn't work.
Oh. But yeah, like I think that there has to be a middle ground between like please comment on my fic.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy. I write this at the end of all of my AO3 fics. I read every single comment and it makes my day. That is not inauthentic. That is true.
No.
If I could print them out and frame my AO3 comments,
Yeah.
I
Which you know
would.
which you can because you are a free human being and you can do whatever you want and you'll have a new apartment soon.
Shh, I haven't told anyone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Girl, I just
Spoiler.
doxing me out.
Doxing you. I don't even have your new address.
I barely have my new address.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
okay. No, but I mean obviously there's a difference. Like if you say like please leave a comment,
yeah.
you don't mean oh please fucking destroy me in the comments. That's
Well,
not
like,
what you mean. And like this is where this is again why we came up with the phrases. Like I say we, obviously I just emulated what everyone else was doing, but the phrase
correct.
don't read came from
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna be talking about that a lot during CitrusCon.
Oh yeah.
Um, but and like, please call me out if I make a mistake. So, like, one thing when I was really, really early into writing in AO3 is I wouldn't get like the slash in the and correctly. Like, slash means usually like explicit or a couple, and is usually platonic. I didn't know that because I'm old. So, like, I had people commenting, like, oh, hey, you might want to change it to this because people might get the wrong idea. Oh my God, thank you. I had no idea, and I'm an old man.
Yeah, or something like, hey, just a heads up, something weird happened to your formatting, and like the whole
Yeah,
second half of your fic is in bold. Like, please tell me.
yeah. Because I'm not meant for these characters aren't meant to be screaming. Oh,
Or I remember that from AFF because you would use the HTML, and you would have to go in
yes,
and do the whole
yes,
yeah. And then occasionally you would forget like a slash somewhere and the
mhm,
whole formatting just broke.
yes.
And you didn't know that. You just posted. You were just like, oh, it's fine. And then someone would be like, I think your formatting is broken.
I know.
And I'm like,
Uh,
thank you.
but like, it's insane to think about that now. That like, oh yeah, like there are people who stopped doing this because folks were mean to them.
Mm,
And like that makes me very, very sad to think about like the lost potential of that kind of
mm.
stuff. I put a note in our document because it's been an hour and a half and we
Good
still
lord.
have things to talk about.
There are so many things.
But I think one thing, and this is something that I'm still adjusting to, and I know Carola,
I'm
you
fine.
are, what?
I'm sorry. I just feel like I'm being attacked by this. Yeah, no, it's fine.
You're not being attacked. I think it's important.
I know. I agree. It's just that every time I look towards the document, it's right there. And I'm like,
Keep in mind, There's something explicit in the document. I haven't like embedded a photo. It's just the word that's enough to do it.
If you had embedded a photo, I would fucking scream. That would be so funny.
I'm gonna embed a photo now. Document.
Uh,
Oh, listen. One thing we didn't have in the early 2000s was a lot of representation or biodiversity.
True. I mean, we did have a lot of like mpreg.
Yes.
And again, like we mentioned in an earlier episode, that was very much a this is the thing in this fic. Do not ask me any further questions about it.
Mhm.
Just accept it. Like yeah. Like now you'll have people out there like making whole
Explaining.
ass like lore and like biological explanations or whatever.
Yes.
And we were just like not me because I ran the other way. But our but it would just be like deal with it.
Yeah. But like we didn't have a lot of like biological diversity back in the days. When we say biological diversity, one big thing that I see a huge uptick in, and again, I think it's the most fascinating thing, is representation of trans men when it comes to love fanfic. And like, it's amazing to think that in the early 2000s would have been absolutely flamed.
Mm-hmm.
We were so regimented in what the idea of what male and men meant.
Yeah.
That something like this, well, I'm not saying it never happened. We weren't everywhere. I'm not saying it never happened in the early 2000s. But that response would have been wildly different.
Yeah. And again, you have to remember that although this didn't necessarily come from a bad and like what intentionally bad point of view, the understanding of gender identities and of bodies and biology and transness in the late 90s early 2000s was severely lacking, and a lot of people didn't even like. I know trans people who didn't know about trans people until they were in their teens, right? So like very often if you had some kind of biodiverse body like a trans man in a fic, the response would have been, he's not a woman.
Yeah.
Which is like, no, a trans man is not a woman. In fact, that's the whole point.
I'm so proud of you.
but like this is 2003 and people know nothing.
Right. Well, and we know nothing and we've never seen to the contrary. I think that's the big thing. I'm probably giving some of us too much credit, and that like that representation just wasn't there and we probably didn't know how to respond to it. I mean, frankly, probably to cover my own ass a little bit of my own failings in understanding some of that stuff. Because especially now with like the current climate, sometimes it feels like I should have been more woke than I was. Like, oh, surely at 14 I should have known better. Well,
but how could you?
Right. But how could I at 14 in 2004?
Again, we've talked about this so much on this podcast. Like, you don't like if you weren't there, you don't understand. We didn't have the language. We didn't like even if you were progressive and you knew more than others. Again, like I saw my first trans people on Ricky Lake when I was 8 years old. Everything I know, I have learned from Ricky Lake, and it made me somehow a better person. Which is remarkable because it also could have made me a much worse person. So, I came out of that much better than I could have. But, for a lot of us, like, even if you had if you had a basic understanding, like you understood that there was nothing wrong with this, there was nothing like inherently like dangerous or anything, like you like kind of understand all of the basic good things, you still didn't have the language to talk about it. We didn't learn about it in school. Like and I'm in Norway. We have a relatively, at least we did when I was in school, we had a relatively good education system,
Mhm.
and much more progressive than at least certain states and school systems in the US, and we had proper sex ed, but we also had a sex ed that genuinely, literally, when I was in the ninth grade, we had a book, and
Mhm.
the sex ed mostly focused on reproduction and
Mhm.
STDs and how to avoid getting STDs or how to
Mhm.
avoid getting pregnant. And then there was like this tiny, tiny little like paragraph that said, it was like under, like, there was a mention of masturbation. And then beneath
Mhm.
with the masturbation, it was like, and some people are attracted to people of the same gender, and this is perfectly okay. That was it. And like there,
Me,
this is
me
a
screaming.
yeah.
Yeah, me screaming and went through sex ed in Texas.
And it's like, and this is like progressive, and yeah. But like,
But
so
like,
obviously, what would you know about gender identity unless you kind of like went looking for it, or you knew someone who knew someone, or it was like,
right.
it was very hard.
It was. And I think what's interesting to me now is how much of the fic that I read now I wouldn't have classified as BL back in those days.
Yeah.
Like that blows my mind on a regular
Mm,
basis. That like there is a version of me that wouldn't consider what I'm reading BL because there are trans men featured.
yeah.
And like, wow, one, I've come a long way, two, society has come a long way. And I'm glad that we have fic as this place to write stories like this now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not saying it never happened in the 2000s. We were not everywhere. You've seen the dirty corners Carola and I were in,
Yeah.
the dirty, awful corners that we were in. But like knowing fandom when it, back then, I can't imagine that, a trans male headcanon would have gone over very well in the 2000s. I can't imagine that that would have been something that, was accepted or even praised back in those days.
Yeah. And it's like, and again, I think that it probably would have been written off very much as like some kind of like just someone like fetishizing. And when I say that, like,
Mm-hmm.
just like someone having a fetish, and
Mm-hmm.
not as like a genuine headcanon, because now we have characters, obviously every time I talk about stuff on this podcast, I forget
Mm-hmm.
everything I've ever read,
Mm-hmm.
so I can't think of any specific characters, but there are characters that, again, like the fandom hive mind, kind of agree that they are transcoded, or this is a trans,
Yeah.
like, or, and then you have people who just like, and again, I see this a lot in the fics that I've been reading in the past few years as well,
Mm-hmm.
that you have trans or gender non-conforming writers who
Mm-hmm.
who write the characters in whatever way, that whether it's because they want to play with it, or if it is because for self, like for identity reasons, like they see
Mm-hmm.
something of themselves in this character, and they
Mm-hmm.
interpret them this way, or they just want to write them this way, because why the hell not, and
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I it's a very different world. I think it's I and it's obviously it's for the better, and if you don't like it, again, I think this is very hard as a cis person to talk about
Mm-hmm.
without saying something wrong, or like stumbling in a way
Right.
that makes it seem like I because it isn't always my cup of tea,
Right.
but that doesn't mean, but I think it's wonderful that there's room for so much more expression now, and
Mm-hmm.
that there are characters who are headcanon as trans or gender
Right.
diverse and or biodiverse, and I think that that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, big same. Like, it does always feel, it feels like a prolonged preference conversation.
Hmm.
And those are always minefields when you start talking about
Yeah.
preference in a certain way. But yeah, like as a person who reads a fair amount of it, it's always really, really interesting to me that like, yeah, there's a version of myself that would have been critical of calling this BL when now
Hmm.
it's like, oh, it's just another thing. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. Like, I think that that's such an interesting aspect of how BL can evolve and change,
Hmm.
and for the better, and
Yeah.
truly for the better. Okay, we still have so much to talk about. I designated one for
Hmm.
Patreon.
I can barely see it because it's so purple.
I'm so sorry.
Wait. Oh no, I see. Okay, yeah.
Um, I think the next big one that's important, and I think we can tie these two together, is there wasn't a lot of diversity in length of fic back in the day. You either got entire novels written by someone who you would consider an extremist. Like, there was always that person who was writing just full on novels, and like that was a person that you respected but didn't talk to because they were like off in the Fey realm writing their novels.
Yeah. And you usually had deep, deep respect for them.
Yeah, but much like the Fey, you also didn't talk to them.
No, but I mean,
Like,
I didn't dare to talk to anyone I really respected. I was,
yeah, like you don't look at them directly; you'll turn to stone. Like, like
yeah.
you were very appreciative of the novel-sized fic you received, but also you can't talk to that person; you'll die. Like, they'll suck away your life.
That's how they got all those words.
That's how they got. That's how they got that word count.
Yeah.
Or fic would be super super short. Like, now I appreciate that there's at least like there's still a lot of diversity in fic length, but there's a kind of standardized. Usually things are in the 5 to 10K range,
Mm.
um, which I think is good. Or at least like those are the two max points. The two max points are 5,000 words is a max, and then usually like 10,000 is your next max. And I appreciate that. That usually feels like enough words to really get some stuff across. But yeah, I remember like posting fic updates that were like less than 1,000 words, and it's like, what are you doing? What even happened?
I mean, I only had like one like really like multi-chapter fic, and I
Mhm.
never finished it. Occasionally I will get a notification that someone for some god known unknown reason has
Mhm.
subscribed to this fic. Like, this thing hasn't updated since 2007. What are you doing? And again, I had no self-control. Like, these chapters were like
Mhm.
60 pages long. I don't know. So, but but I feel like I because I mostly wrote one shots, and so
Mhm.
and then they would be like usually around maybe like 3,000, 5,000 words
Right.
depending on how long the sex scene was.
Mhm.
But also I would do like a lot of like ficlets or drabbles that were like 300 to
Yes.
800 words, but for chapters like they would never be that short. And I
Yeah,
feel like I don't
absolutely.
see, but also feel, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the sites I use now, which is mainly just like AO3. But I feel like you don't see a lot of ficlets and drabbles anymore.
Yeah, or like I'll see someone say this is a fic length and it's still like normal fic length.
Yeah, I remember calling something a drabble once, and it was over 1,000 words, and someone chastised me in the
Yeah, that's
comments.
not a drabble.
No, a drabble is like three to 500.
Yeah, if you yeah, but like then those in hindsight, those are such arbitrary and stupid rules.
Yeah.
Like, in hindsight, that's a dumb arbitrary rule. But tying it into the next point, which is serialization,
Mm.
was an interesting thing. Not to say that there were never fics that went on for multi chapters, because there were. I wrote a few, Carola wrote a few, but the tendency was towards one shots.
Yeah, I do think it depends,
It does depend.
because again, like I come from the school of Sasunaru as written by Rasengan 22, Anime Head, Nom de Plume, like, and they all wrote these, like they would be like between 10 and 20 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always like these absolute masterpieces that like literally everybody was reading.
Right.
But then I mostly read one shots.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like both existed on the same plane, but also not really. Because same, like I was writing chapter pieces, I was reading one shots.
Mm,
So like again, that enjoyment factor of what we were
yeah.
reading versus what we were producing was really, really
I
interesting.
also, every time we talk about this, I end up thinking because, like, I remember when I was trying to write my first chapter fic,
Mhm.
and I had no fucking idea what I was doing,
Mhm.
and it was so intimidating. And I had written so few chapter fics when I suddenly decided to sit down and write a novel, and I'm like, how did that happen? What the hell? Because it doesn't make any sense in my head.
Well, I started writing chapter fic not pretty early in, but also like the idea of what a chapter was very different.
Again, I have no, like, to this day, no idea, no control, no system. I
Yeah.
write on vibes. I,
So like yeah, I wrote things with a lot of chapters,
mm,
but also like those chapters weren't very long. Like my first Matt and Malefic that I did, which was like my longest public serialized thing, it's
mm,
40 chapters, but each of those chapters is maybe like 1 to 2k words.
yeah,
So I would
yeah.
hard like in hindsight, I'd hardly call that a chapter update. But
But then you have, like, because you mentioned serialization, and I think I did that though. Like, I would write one shots that were
mhm,
kind of like in the same series. So there
mhm,
would be sequels, or there
that's what
would
I'm
be
doing
like,
now.
yeah. And then there would be like, I would write a one shot, and you can read this alone, but
Yeah.
if you want to know, what happened later on, then
Mhm.
there's like a second fic that's like a
Yeah.
companion piece, and it would be like a series,
No, that's
kind
what
of.
I've been doing with my Batcest fix. Where like technically you
Mm,
could read each of them on their own. Like one is a direct sequel. A couple of them are direct sequels, but really for the smut, you don't need to have read the other
yeah.
one. But they all fit in like this little universe where I'm not willing or ready to say this is a serialized chapter fic,
Mm,
but reading each of these together can improve enjoyment.
yeah.
But yeah, like that's always something that was very, very interesting. I think the last big point before we talk about what hasn't changed, because it's been nearly two
Oh my
hours,
god. Yeah, right, because we're not in. Okay.
Carola, we've been here all day. I'm so
I
hungry.
know. I'm sorry. I'm
Not
also
your fault.
hungry. I just remembered I didn't eat dinner.
I'm so we're both just the host complaining. I'm hungry. I'm tired.
I mean, is that not the experience of fic writing and reading though? I am so hungry, and also I have to pee, but just one more chapter.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Also, one thing that I think that has kind of changed, but also hasn't, is getting really well known for like a pairing. We used to be polyglots,
Hmm.
and we wrote what was popular.
Or,
Even if we were,
whatever scratched
yeah,
our
whatever
little
scratched our weird little
Eurasian
food.
yeah.
But like we wrote what was popular to get readers. Like that was the
Mhm.
big. It was very James Patterson. Like we just wrote whatever was popular.
We didn't work with a million ghostwriters though.
Yeah. Could you imagine outsourcing your fic?
I'm sure that there are people who do that.
I'm certain. But like I'm just imagining like this hierarchy in high school where like I'm receiving like cookies for fan fiction and then like go finding a freshman and being like, you right, and then giving them like half a cookie and me eating the other one.
I mean, to a certain extent, we did and do have that economy of, I really, really want to see this scenario, this pairing in this scenario. Will someone write it? And then very often it's like, fuck, I have to write it myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we were all kind of polyglots back in the day, really focusing on what was popular. And like I remember my allegiances shifting a lot back then. Where like, yeah, I always had pairings that I liked writing. Like
Mm.
I'm not saying we didn't have favorites, but like as far as like what I was posting was a little bit of everything
Mm.
just to stay on top of like, oh well, people are reading this. I guess I write that now,
I
and
don't
like
think I
even
did that.
mm,
I mean, not with pairings. Maybe
yeah,
with like scenarios or
yeah,
like types of AUs. Again,
mhm.
going back to how we were all writing high school AUs, but all of the AUs, all of the high schools were American-based high schools, even for those of us who have had never set foot in an American high school, because that was just how you did it.
Yes, no, and it's very very funny having gone to an American high school and reading some of these, and it's like that's not what happened. We
Yeah.
didn't have courtyards.
Like imagine though, like just American Japanese characters in an American high school written by a Norwegian teenager coming from a place where, we call our teachers by their first names, and we've never heard of a school shooting, and our schools
Oh
are
well, yeah,
well
it can't be authentic to
funded.
start with. The school shooting was a necessary layer to
Our
the
teachers, like the teachers don't have to buy the classroom supplies themselves,
no, no.
highly, I think the most sci-fi I've ever written is probably like writing American high schools from a Norwegian perspective when I was 16.
Yeah, it's. I mean, y'all have heard me talk about high school, but we wrote a little bit of everything, and then the idea of being like known for a specific pairing. It was a curiosity back then.
Hmm.
Now it's a way to like make your bread and butter. Like you are known for writing this
Hmm.
pairing, and I like that. But I also don't like how it is outside of my control of what people think I'm famous for. Because
Hmm.
arguably now I'm famous for writing the Robins fucking each other when I want to be famous for Matt and Mello.
But I think that that is also, like on a certain level, like that is a very interesting thing,
Yes.
and but also you get kind of like this, almost like this typecast thing, because I have seen people where it's like you follow someone
Mhm.
for a certain content, a certain type of content, and then they switch fandoms, or they switch pairings, and then people, and then yeah, but again, because we are, people who are, we have fandom etiquette, so
Mhm.
we're not going to be in their comments like, how could you do this, why are you writing this, like, what about me, we may be thinking it, but
We're
we're not
thinking it very loudly, but we're not going to say it.
we're not going to be like in your comments like bullying you because you write something else than what we followed you for.
Oh dare. Yeah, I couldn't imagine that happening now.
Mm.
It definitely happened back then, where like if you were kind of known for something and and you dare deviate, it, it's like get back to work.
How dare you, who
What are
let
you
you out
doing?
of the kitchen, like, just like,
Like I remember writing. It's like, hey, I just wrote this to like get out of my system. I just need to do something different. How fucking dare you, wench?
oh my god.
Go back to writing the
Like,
porn I want.
and like I was never, I mean, obviously I was never famous in that sense, I was never, but I just, can you just imagine like being that person, and you're just like, you're so used to like always being on every recommended list and everyone's always reading, and you have like so many hits within the first 15 minutes and all of these comments, and then you post something and there's fucking crickets, like, what that must do to your ego.
No, I had that happen.
Oh my god.
I had that happen because I decided I wanted to be creative and have fun and write that one gravitation fic with Kitazawa, which
Hmm.
was truly a work from my soul, which says a lot about my soul.
It does say a lot about your soul, I'm concerned. It was very well written. I
You
enjoyed it.
liked it. What does that say
But
about you? Fuck my soul. What about your soul?
my soul, see, the jury's still out. I'm still coming to terms with it. There are two wolves inside of me. And
We're spending a lot of time talking about my soul. What about your soul,
you're
Carola?
the one who brought up your soul. I didn't say that my soul has nothing to do with it.
Just saying, we spend a lot of time talking about my moral purity. And someone has to enable me, and it's that big haired woman next to me.
Wow. Okay, blame it on me. I see. I see. I see. It's that. That's how it is.
You say that as if you don't egg me on all the time. But like,
I've never enabled you ever in my life, actually. Don't
I'm
look
gonna
at
watch
me.
out for lightning storms because God. Oh,
Please just smite me already. I can't take this anymore.
oh God.
I've
But
been here
like,
long enough. I've seen enough.
but like, yeah, like I've had that happen where it's like, oh hey, I wrote this like from my soul, which is
Mm.
questionable that a Kitazawa boy slut airy fic came from my soul. But it's like, hey, there's this thing that I wrote from my soul, and it means a lot to me. Or like my Hatalia fic that was like all in French, and I looked at ancient maps
Wow.
for. Shut up.
I. Mm-mm.
But like no one's read it, and like I believe in like that form of capitalism, like the attention economy. They're like, oh, that wasn't interesting, it wasn't trending, whatever. But like, yeah, like it does sometimes kind of suck where it's like, oh, hey, this thing that I'm also really proud of. I wish other people read it. But
Mm.
also, yeah, like keep reading my Matt and Mello fic, keep reading all the times I've made the Robins fuck each other. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Or like call out very, very clearly when I wrote Trigun fic because I saw it was popular, and I can do it. But a little part of me clearly isn't always in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always, but again, I was very much like, for me, it was like, first it was Team Rocket and then it was Naruto. And like, there was such a big community around it. So it's like, I didn't choose Sasunaru.
No.
It chose me. In my life. I don't know. But with everything else, because very true to myself, everything else kind of I got into. I mean, there was Bleach, and like, and I dabbled in Durara, you know, and obviously Shizaya was the big pairing,
Mhm.
but everything else, true to who I am as a person, I would just fall in love with side characters that got no screen time, or just full on fandoms where I was one of three people writing for it.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yes.
just like holding this, trying to hold this thing up with my own bare hands together with two other lost souls, and we were the only people in the world. That
Yeah.
was me.
Yeah. No, and I like that position a lot more than I like others. Of like, I am one of the core arbiters of this dying light.
It's like it's just like me and two others in the Yonjiroku Okudan no Koi uh, fandom, which is like this Takeshi Miike film with Ando Masanobu and Matsuda Ryuhei, and we were just like three people.
Yeah.
And it's like, has anyone else even seen this film? And we were just like, just the three of us randomly fighting each other on LiveJournal. It was beautiful.
No. 100% me writing Matt and Mello in 2026, or it's just
Oh
like,
my god.
does anyone else care? I mean, clearly some of you care.
Like,
But
hello, is anyone alive out there? Like Titanic, and like all the dead bodies floating in the water.
they're not even dead. They're just on more popular ships. Like
Yeah,
they're
no,
on
that's,
pacing up, trying
yeah,
to escape.
like the accounts are still there. They're just
Yeah.
not active, and you're just like trying to find someone else in this ocean.
Right. Like it's not even that they're all dead. They're on the fucking Carpathia laughing at us because we're all just thinking ship. That's right. I know some Titanic lore.
Good.
Um,
So do I. It's one of my special interests. Send help.
why are we like this?
I don't know.
It's been 2 hours almost. Why are we like this?
My
Okay.
brain was already fluff before we started.
Listen, what hasn't changed? Um, there have been some things that have not changed.
Hmm.
One, we've agreed on a very uniform writing style.
Yeah, and while it doesn't necessarily look the same as it
Okay.
And like I don't know, because when I think of the uniform writing style, again, I've said this before, like there are like very specific phrases or
Mhm.
very specific ways of tying sentences together that we had one way of doing it, and okay,
Mhm.
that's not necessarily how they do it. Again, the raven haired male is not necessarily how you would write something anymore. But with that said, the amount of like fics I read with the exact same phrases, the exact same like focus points or like ways of describing a certain thing, everyone is
Mhm.
still just emulating each other and kind of like the style that has like uniformly developed, whether that is in that specific fandom or just
Yeah.
like this is how we write fic today.
Well, and I think it's interesting that, like, yeah, we don't see raven haired anymore, but like, we'll also agree that some things were never meant to make it. So,
Mm.
like, I'll take raven haired over like greenette.
Oh my god. Do people actually do that now? I thought that was dead and buried. I thought we left that in 2006.
It's mostly dead, but it'll prop up every once in a while. Uh,
Yeah.
for
No,
those of
I
you
mean,
that don't know what that
oh
is,
god.
there are people that don't know Corolla.
I know! And it could be someone's first episode, at which point, good job still being here after 2 hours.
Um, greenette. Well, greenette's the one I see most commonly. Basically, essentially taking like one of the abnormal hair colors that anime characters can have and like making it like brunette,
Mm.
but instead of brown, it's like I'll see greenette and pinkette a lot.
Pinkette! If you don't start referring to me as the Pinkette from now on, I'm gonna be really fucking upset. Okay, but question, like genuine question, because I remember this was like a huge thing, and I think we've discussed this before, like how brunette with one T
Mhm.
was for like how was it was like that was for the males, and then brunette with TTE, that's like the feminine counterpart.
I never used that. I did use the blonde,
Blonde or blonde, yeah.
yes. But I wasn't writing a lot of brunettes, so I
No,
didn't have
same. I
I
was
didn't
just
have the opportunity to get into the nitty gritty of that.
no, because they're definitely because again I wrote Naruto, so it was like blonde or blonde, like with an E or without the E, and
Yeah,
like so now I'm wondering, like, did they gender the greenettes and the pinkettes?
no, because I've only seen greenette with two T's and an E.
And you only read gay things, so
The fucking math ass riddle. Amanda has five oranges. Amanda only reads gay things.
this
How
is
many
the only
oranges does Amanda
this is the only kind of math, like genuinely. I don't know if you guys had these, but when we had our math midterms, the only reason I didn't fail was that every single midterm would include at least one question where you have to use like the power of elimination, and
have?
it's like you have to kind of like you figure out like, oh, this person is this old, and then that person is that old, and then this person is this
Yeah.
much younger, how young or like how old, and I could always solve those, but I couldn't do any of the other problems, and it was the only reason I didn't fail. So this I can do, like.
Fucking gay ass math parable. Amanda only reads gay things. By which property? Okay. Yeah, like I've only ever seen greenette with two T's and an E. I've only seen pinkette with two T's and an E. I mean, I guess by proxy, the characters that are usually being written about are uke, and by the transitive property, uke equals woman. I don't know. I
Hell.
just help. There's, sorry, there's no deity that can save us now. Um, but like, yeah, like there are things that we've agreed that we don't. Again, like that fandom hive mind that we don't use anymore.
Mm.
Um, we don't use definitely writing tends now towards more natural. We're not using a lot of like feathery, flowery language when it comes to writing sex.
No, but what I have found, which I have talked about before, and
Mhm.
I should have spent this week just like reading fic, but I have been too tired, so that didn't happen. I did look through my AO3 history and like take a look at like tags and things.
Mhm.
And so again, this could be me just like coming in late to the party, and maybe this is not news. I think it is, but one thing that I discovered again, like one of those things that I feel like people uniformly have decided on now is like these again, and I think it's like a writing trend. Like for instance, everyone has a praise kink. Everyone. Like I don't care what I'm reading. Like this is like in all of the kin Porsche fics, but it could be in any of the pairings. Like in Miritama fics, there's like praise kink and daddy kink, and everyone is into some sort of like dumb sub dynamic. And I genuinely think that this is like the way we were kind of like copying whatever the hell the fandom elders were doing. This is how I feel about these things. Obviously, we know more about these things now, they're more prevalent in media, but I
Mhm.
cannot help but think that younger readers of fic and writers of fic are coming into these fandoms and seeing that, oh, I guess everyone's just like saying be a good boy for me, and like having someone warm their cock with their mouth under their desk, because the amount of times I see this, like this is like in everything, and everyone is sub dropping. I'm like, what is happening? This what and like yeah, sure, some of it is, and I'm not saying like a lot of it is well written. It's not my cup of tea, but a lot of this is like stuff that okay, fine, people know about these things now. No one knew what a sub drop was in 2006. But now I feel like this is a lot of the time I see it in every fic I read, and I'm like, you are writing this because you think you have to include this in your fic because that's what everyone else is doing. And I think it's interesting.
I don't disagree with you. I wonder how much of it is like that mainstreamification of BDSM language
Yeah.
that we haven't found other words to describe some of these feelings yet. So we're
Mm.
using words that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, like kind of like what we were doing, just like
Yeah,
a
and I
bigger
wonder if
word.
those are just the words that we have because, like, having experienced real dom drop, it isn't just a moment of clarity during sex when you realize you're being too rough. That's not what a dom drop is. Like,
Hmm.
I wonder if it's just that's the language that we have and it fits the closest and
Yeah.
that's being used. Um, that could be a whole other
Yeah,
episode.
and again, like I'm not criticizing this by any means. I just think it's very fascinating because again, I was gone for like 15 years, and when I returned, everyone was still very much like writing in the same
Mm-hmm.
styles
Mm-hmm.
and using a lot of the same words or tropes or kinks or whatever, but vastly different ones from 15 years prior. And I'm like, oh, so this is what everyone is doing now. Like I just think it's a neat like observation. I think it's very fun
No,
to see
I
that
agree with you.
like that
Like,
hasn't changed.
yeah, like we're still using, this kind of like osmotic in nature of fandom.
Yeah,
Like, someone made this popular. Unfortunately, it's probably a 50 Shades of Grey thing. Um,
probably.
that we can credit 50 Shades of Grey for making a lot of this language more mainstream. I don't want to give 50 Shades of Grey credit for jack or
No.
shit, but it
Nope.
did make a lot of this language very normalized. So like, yeah, like even in like het romances, you'll see like het authors say like, oh, and there was a moment of dom drop at the end of sex. Like that's not what dom drop is. That's not your boyfriend throwing a towel at you after sex is not dom drop.
I'll remember this for later. Just like filing that away.
It's like
No.
your boyfriend presenting you with a towel after sex is not.
Oh my
Oh, and
god.
he dom dropped.
But also, isn't it interesting because like last time we talked about the sim at Home Depot hardware store, and it's like the same thing. Because of course we would end up here.
Yeah,
look, yeah, like it's
look at
all
who raised
connected.
us.
Yeah, like it's all connected. It's really funny actually.
Yeah,
But
it.
but yeah,
I,
I just think it's really fascinating that.
yeah. Well, and I also think a lot of it more is, and this is something that hasn't changed, but I think has gotten more apparent. I think we hit it a little bit better back in the day. Is inserting of our own things
Mm.
into fic. Like fic inherently is self-indulgent,
Oh yeah.
unless like you're doing this because you want to see something happen. But what I think is really really interesting is like, yeah, some folks have praise kink and they write praise kink because they have praise kink.
Oh yeah.
Like but I think we hide those seams a lot less now. Like one of my favorite tags in AO3 is the writer's barely disguised fetish. It's like
Hmm.
it's acknowledging, oh hey, this might be OOC, this might be out of character, and I'm acknowledging that this might be out of character. But I want this to happen because I not because I've interpreted this to be canonical, like how
Mm.
we used to like in hearing your shipping manifesto, you rationalize where this happened, but because I want this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is happening because I feel like it and not having to justify it as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because again, back in the day, we still did this, but we'd have to justify it. And this is why this pairing is in this kind of BDSM relationship. Insert chapters this to this, image,
Yeah.
image, image,
Yeah.
source, source, source.
I think that there's definitely a lot more room now, both for that kind of
Mhm.
like explicit self indulgence and also for just like experimenting and being like,
Yeah,
I want to play with these two characters within this framework. Uh,
right. There's a lot of
without
that.
yeah, because again, going back to what we when we were talking about the biodiversity and the gender diversity, that
Mhm.
before that wouldn't necessarily go over well because people
Yeah.
were so hung up on like no it should be within this box and if you're
Right.
outside of that but like what I've noticed is like again with what you just said that authors that do that are often they're the more experienced ones often like the older ones you know and so you can definitely tell most of the time if it's like a younger or less
Mhm.
experienced fic writer who is basically just like doing the emulation thing
Mhm.
because you don't necessarily have to do the explanation in the tags if you are the experienced kind of writer or
Mhm.
whatever but it is very obvious when the OOC becomes like it's blatantly OOC because
Mhm.
this isn't something there's nothing about this character that suggests this
Mhm.
and there's nothing about the fic that you've written them into that explains why they are like
Mhm.
this. So it very clearly reflects that, oh, you have read a lot and this is how people write these days. And so you're
Right.
emulating it. Because this
Right.
is just, it's like back in the day, things were a lot more vanilla and now everyone's writing BDSM. So I guess that's what we're doing, kind of
Well,
like,
no, and then again, like that fanfic osmosis, like Vashwood is one of those pairings that everyone seems to agree that they're in some kind of like BDSM relationship,
yeah.
and like love that for them. Please tell me where you found it. Please tell like literal Christian allegory trigun where y'all are getting all of this like, and Wolfwood is like a secret dom, and
What he's carrying his cross around, Amanda. What do you expect? Like he's just waiting to
it's not
strap someone onto it.
not what we're doing in bed. It's the wrong cross. If you want to make that argument, but like everyone has agreed that like, oh, this is some kind of like dom sub relationship, or sometimes Vash is the dom and he's like doming from the bottom or whatever, and it's like, okay, cool. Where did we get this?
Hmm.
Where did we find this? I think it's interesting, and I've benefited from it, and I've written it.
Yeah,
Where did this come from?
yeah. Again, like it's not criticism. It's just
Yeah,
like
it's
it's just an
observation.
observation, and just like this is so. It's just so interesting.
It
No one
is.
knows where it came from, and it's everywhere. And like, and it makes you wonder, like, what's the next thing? Like in 15 years, what is everyone going to be writing then? Like.
I think I think the next big thing is we're going to see a resurgence of like really really standard male male romance tropes.
Mm.
like your heated rivalries and stuff like that, come back and don't
I'm
look at
fine.
me like that.
I'm
No,
fine.
no. Someone freeze frame that look. Like I think
I'm
we're gonna
so
get like
tired.
that coming back where it's like, oh, look at how revolutionarily these guys write. I'm like, this is such a better representation than your. It's gonna come back around.
I mean,
It's already happening.
yeah, that's how cyclical worlds work,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
we're gonna have another Reconquista of like, and this is how these good pure Western.
You know what I want? I am at the stage of my life where I need the good and pure and wholesome to be absolutely fucking wrecked. That's what I want. That's what I need.
Oh, one thing that hasn't changed is we still use a lot of tropes, whether that's like our coffee house AUs,
Mm.
our high school AUs. Um,
I think that actually the trope use is even more deliberate now than it used to be.
it is,
Partially because I guess people know what a trope is now.
yes. And writing against trope now is a trope. Like if you're going out of your way to say I'm not being tropey, that's a trope in and of itself.
Yeah. And just like how, I mean, you like look at how even big publishing houses
Mhm.
or whatever are using these, like the trends and the trope idea to sell books, and to the point
Right.
where some books coming out now basically have no substance because they're just literally just founded poorly on tropes versus
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, everyone loves enemies to lovers, but again, like we talked about on this podcast, I have a stake in enemies to lovers that are like shonen rivals for 800 chapters. I don't
Right.
care about your spiceless het romance where it's like, oh, he said something mean to me in the 5th grade and now we're enemies. That's not it.
Yeah. I also think one thing with trope usage, again, there's a lot less explaining why we're doing things the way that we're doing. Because I remember one thing about like especially like AU trope usage is that it was usually a bit of an acknowledgement of weakness.
Hmm.
Like I can't write this fantastical universe, so I'm
I
gonna
mean,
cop out and set it in a coffee shop. Like it was usually like some kind of admittance to I don't feel like or I can't
yeah,
write
or
this
like
novel.
if you're me, I don't want to.
Yeah, or I don't want to. Like it's usually copping to a failing of some kind
Mm.
and saying I don't have it in me. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. I can't. This is Starbucks now.
Yep, 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 yep.
And now again, there's a lot less rationale as to why things are that way. I think sometimes for the better. Um, I do think that their interest. I think that we're getting more particularly series based AUs, which is really really interesting. Like I really love, of course, the one that I live in is no one dies, everyone lives.
Mm.
That's a really really fascinating like AU trope to work in. Um,
I mean, if it is a Starbucks AU, it would be a little sus if everyone died. Just like,
so
sir, this is a Wendy's.
horrible things happening in a campus coffee shop.
Oh
Oh
my
my god.
god.
And I think the one big thing that hasn't changed, and this ebbs and flows, but it's very, very in vogue now, is treat thick writers well. We are doing this out of the love in our hearts. Many of us are not receiving payment for this.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I publish novel size works for free.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you need to like overly congratulate me, but it also, again, when I think about like how I feel about criticism, a lot of it is tied to like, but I'm the one putting in effort. And if I make a mistake or I do something that you don't like, okay, that's cool. No one invited you. No one made you do this. No one made
Yeah.
you comment. No one made you read to the end and comment.
Unless someone is like holding a gun to your head behind the scenes, which is very unlikely.
Right.
That's you didn't have to do all that.
But like the main objective is to treat fic writers well.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more acknowledgement of the ghost in the machine because I think for a while the goal was for us to kind of disappear into the work. You praised the work, not the writer, as if the work sort of like spawned organically.
Yeah.
And the writer may have been like a divine conduit for it. But then again, it was never the fic writer that was praised, it was the work that was praised. Now there's a much deeper, mind body connection understanding that, oh, someone put effort into this. Someone put research into this. Someone put work into this. And I think social media has been a great help with that because now writers have a place where we can like share our drabbles and share like, oh, like here's the dumb thing I spent hours researching for a fic no one's gonna read.
Yeah. But then there's that one person following you on Twitter who will be in your comments like, oh, I remember I saw you agonizing about this on Twitter and it came out so well and I'm glad that you spent all those hours doing that.
Right. But like the idea to treat your fic writer as well, and like it's something that we preach on this show, that if there's a fic that you really like, thank them. You don't have to. Not every comment needs to be a giant paragraph of like, here are all the things that I liked. A simple, I really enjoyed this, I promise you makes a fic writer's day.
Yeah, honestly. I need to take that to heart because I am the one writing the essay comments.
You are.
And that's part of the reason why I am so bad at reading now because I'm like, I don't have the energy to write the comments and then I can't keep reading because I will, yeah.
I'm not allowed anymore. No, I love your essay comments. They make me so happy. Wow, that sure was a lot of talking about fan fiction.
Sure was. And we even had to omit some things. And yeah.
We omitted like two things. One thing. But that's going to be for Patreon. Speaking of Patreon, these videos are again what?
They are demonetized. I don't know if you heard the part where we were yelling about testicles for like 15 minutes, but we don't make any money from these videos. We're lucky if they get shown to you at all.
But we do have a Patreon, which is a great place to directly support the podcast. Patrons of all tiers get monthly videos from us where we usually get to be more unhinged than we usually are.
Imagine that.
Yeah, we're sometimes more unhinged. I'm also recooking those merch tiers. Again, as Carola said, I'm changing apartments soon. So I am now looking at all the things that I own with immense dread. So I'm rethinking some of our merch tiers for Patreon. They're not going away. We're just rethinking how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's also like one of the best ways to get to us actively. Like if patrons say they want to hear something or see something, we listen to everyone.
Yeah,
but that's probably one of the most direct ways to get that. So this is the part of the show where we thank our patrons, which includes Anonymore, Moons, Aria, Starlight Esquire, Kenny, Koval, Sue, Amora Blue, and Lauren. Thank you so much for being patrons.
Thank you.
Again, lots of these guys have been patrons since we started the Patreon, which is amazing. So please feel free to donate and help keep the lights on metaphorically and physically. One cool thing I will say about Patreon is that Patreon money almost always goes back either to the podcast or it goes to supporting other Fujin by buying merch. Yeah, like that money always goes back into the Fujin economy.
Yes.
And that's something that, I'm proud of us for doing. Um, you know what? We're gonna be at Citrus Con at the end of the month
We are.
talking about BL fan fiction etiquette. So it's not going to be exactly the same as what we talked about today, but we're going to be talking about etiquette because it's one of those things that I think, again, we don't need to say it, but it is helpful to say.
Yeah.
Most of us now have a good understanding that, like, you don't need to flame someone or dox them, but it's helpful, especially in this modern era, sometimes to have a brief little reminder.
Yeah. And some people are new here and might not know the ropes.
Yeah, we're also including a section in this panel for fanfic writers because I think where, at least like me speaking personally as a fanfic writer, that is sometimes where I feel like I'm the least informed in etiquette is now what I am obligated to do as a fic writer
Hmm.
because I was raised in the old ways by wolves.
And like not the Omegaverse wolves. They
Not
didn't
the
come in
Omegaverse
yet.
wolves,
No,
like
no,
just
no.
actual bloodthirsty animals. Um, So sometimes even I mess up in what my obligations are to my readers. So I'm excited to do that.
Mhm.
Carla, what are we talking about next month? And please tell the audience how magnanimous and kind I was.
As you have so graciously written in all caps in the outline,
Yeah.
I will actually acknowledge that Amanda has taken great care to cater to my personal needs and my sanity, even though I said that it wasn't necessary because we have to cover Omegaverse at some point. And I wasn't opposed to doing it next month, but
Mhm.
because Amanda is gracious and full of care, we are not doing Omegaverse. And to preserve my sanity, we are delving into a slightly less challenging topic next month,
Yes.
which we love pipelines on this show. We've all been through a variety of pipelines, so
We
we're
have.
gonna look at the shoujo to Fujin pipeline next month, which will be in
Yeah.
March. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for confirming what month
So
this
it's just like, where are we in the world?
Thank you for confirming. Listen, Corolla's not getting off the hook. We will talk about Omegaverse. I just figured it's still kind of early in the year, and I'd like to preserve my co-host a little.
Considering the headspace that I'm in today, maybe it's for the better.
Yeah, like I could sense in the air that maybe ramming headfirst into Omegaverse so early in the year wasn't the best idea.
We just can't do it too late in the year either, because then I will definitely not be a functional person. We should probably aim for somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that was my goal. We're just preserving for a little while longer to
Yeah.
give us both time to research. Uh, but it's still gonna happen. But yeah, we're gonna talk about that Sojo connection to BL.
Yeah.
We talked about the Shonen connection. I think one thing that we don't talk about it enough because it's assumed that it's understood is that shoujo connection. Um, so instead of Corolla suffering next month, I suffer next month
Thank you for your sacrifice.
because
Very
I
magnanimous of you.
because I famously do
Love
not like a
shoujo.
lot of shoujo.
I mean, I think, like I said in our personal chat, I think actually it's a great time, at least personally, to cover it, because I'm watching at least two shoujo anime right now
Mhm.
that are literally just like catering to that part of my brain. The
Right.
shoujo to Fujin pipeline is literally just like, so I have it very fresh in mind, and I think it's a great time to talk about it. I'm very excited.
I sure will be there.
Amanda will be there, tired and
Yes. I'll try to rewatch some stuff as I put things in boxes. Um, So we're going to talk about that shoujo to Fujin pipeline. I think it's really, really important, and it feels like spring, renewal, and talking about some of the complicated gender stuff girls are going through. Because
Yeah.
so many of these girls are doing a cross dressing.
Yep.
So many of these girls are just doing a cross dressing.
There sure is a lot of gender fuckery going on in a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
And also, again, you cannot escape the fact that BL grew from shoujo, so there's
It is
that.
ever present.
Yeah, we can't escape it.
We are all over the social internet. Carola, where can the good people find us?
Where can't they find us? I mean, if you're already listening to the podcast, I guess you might already know this, but we are on the majority of your podcast platforms of choice, or you can listen to us while watching our facial expressions right here on YouTube. We are still on the hellscape known as Twitter. We are also migrating to Blue Sky. It's an ongoing project that is difficult because, well, a lot of the people that we depend on for our content are on Twitter.
Listen, we said this last month. It's so true. We can't leave until y'all leave.
And it's like all of the Japanese like mangaka and like production companies, they're all there. So it's kind of hard. I also, again, me personally, I was there first. Elon, you leave. Like, fuck off. I was there first.
I mean, there's definitely some stubbornness to it, but like ideally, like it's a dying platform. We don't have access to the metrics that we used to or anything. So like we can't tell what's working, what isn't working. I would love to move, but until more people move, we can't move.
No. We're also on Instagram where we mostly post like updates about the episodes, and you can join our Discord server if you want to hang out with us, mostly Amanda, while I exist in that strange gelatinous cube that we were talking about earlier.
That unroom that exists in every BL. Where you're just floating in between sofa and bed, and lube appears out of the top left corner.
If there is any lube. Which, I do have in my notes that I think that one thing that it's nice to see that, or is it, ? Nice to see that some of our traditions have not quite died as I look through the tags in my AO3 history and see that there are a surprising amount of fics tagged with come as lube or spit as lube. So the tradition still lives. If you want to discuss more of stuff about stuff like this, you can join the Discord where we do have a channel for episode discussions. Or you can just hang out in the main chat where Amanda is always steering the ship and I occasionally drop something completely unhinged, and then disappear for 5 days.
That is literally what happens. Like, I wish she was joking, but it's me literally steering the ship. I'll go take like a much needed rest for a little while, and I'll come back, and Carola's like dropped an unhinged biscuit and has disappeared again into the ether. That's why she lives in the gelatinous unroom. That's what happened. She's like an interdimensional being, like one of the Tyranids, and just pops out of the warp, drops something insane, and then flees back to her nest.
And there's like, if you think we're exaggerating, join the Discord. This is literally how it works. And the funny part is that I will drop something because I want people to see it, and then I want to talk to you guys about it. But then I just disappear without following it up. Like, I don't even participate in the discussion afterwards.
You drop like the Cenobite, kink box, and then leave. And then I'm left to deal with it. And everyone's like, what's that weird pain kink box? I don't fucking know. I was taking a nap because I work 8 hours a day. I was taking a much deserved nap on a Saturday. And when I wake up for my shift, there's this unholy artifact in the middle of the shift. It's like Cult of the Lamb. I went to go perform sacrifice, and I come back, and there's cannibalism.
See, see, that's the part where, like, when Amanda says that I'm a gremlin, like,
Yes.
I can't deny it. This is just
No,
what I
I
do.
wish you would. I wish you'd try.
I have a reputation. I'm trying.
But that's literally what happens. And I'm not here to make it sound like I am pure and holy in my exploits in this chat room. We spent a lot of time talking about Warhammer, Yaoi.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I'm watching the Olympics.
It's the I wasn't there. I could have said anything, and Krill would have been like, "Yeah, I wasn't there."
I wasn't there. And you know the best part? My Discord has been acting up again. I don't know what's wrong with it. But like yesterday, thank God this wasn't anything important. But yesterday it did that thing where it didn't want to, like, it didn't change colors when I got a notification. So, you know, I wasn't getting notifications at all. Because there was no notification, like no orange color, no like little one. So that happens sometimes, which does not help.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, if you want to talk about the ethics of shipping Sanguinius with Horus Lupercal, you can do so in Discord with me and sometimes Carola.
Sometimes me, though. Yeah,
We're so excited for CitrusCon. Yes.
yeah. Come hang with us at CitrusCon. I was just about to say it.
Yeah. CitrusCon ends up being a place where we get a lot of new listeners, so we're going to be on our best behavior.
Because that will, in fact, be someone's first episode for sure.
Yeah, and then they'll come and find this and be like, "What the fuck? I was lied to."
Oops.
These aren't the calm, chill, put together Fujin that I was promised.
Don't worry. I will try to be somewhat myself at the panel.
I mean, we always end up being ourselves at the panel.
Yeah, but it's going to be super fun. I'm so excited to be back in the CitrusCon bubble, especially with the state of the world. I am so ready to just hang out with Fujin all weekend and just like talk about everything else. But also because it is a live panel, so you can also join us and talk about your own experiences in the chat. It's very fun.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
We will see you next month. And, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. But also, we'll see you for a main episode. Well, you know what? We'll be back. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, it's fine.
See you next